I used to think certain outfits just weren't me until I realized the fabric was working against me the entire time. For years, I assumed the problem was my body, my styling, or my lack of effort. I'd add accessories, change shoes, adjust silhouettes, and still feel slightly unfinished. What finally shifted everything wasn't more styling, it was understanding fabric. Many women assume their outfit needs styling, when what it really needs is a better fabric doing the work for them, because fabrics speak before we do. Before someone notices the cut, the color, or the brand, the eye reads how a garment moves, reflects light, and settles on the body, and our brains make instant judgments based on that information, often without us realizing it. This isn't about expensive wardrobes or rigid rules, it's about awareness. Certain fabrics support ease, confidence, and calm presence. Others quietly create tension, clinging, shining, wrinkling, or collapsing in ways that distract from you. Once you learn to see this, getting dressed becomes simpler, not harder. Let's start with why fabric matters more than most women are ever told. When we talk about elegance, most advice jumps straight to silhouettes, colors, or trends. But fabric is the foundation, and without it, nothing else holds. The human eye processes texture before detail. We register weight, softness, and movement almost instantly. Heavier, calmer fabrics signal stability and intention. Lighter, overly shiny, or unstable fabrics signal fragility or disorder, even if the design itself is beautiful. This is why two garments can look similar on a hanger, yet feel completely different once worn. Imagine the same neutral blouse in two versions. One is made from a softly structured fabric that drapes and holds its shape. The other is thin, synthetic, and slightly shiny. On the hanger, the difference is subtle. On the body, it's unmistakable. One settles. The other clings, reflects light unpredictably, and shifts with every movement. And here's the important part. This has nothing to do with your body type, age, or lifestyle. Fabric doesn't judge, but it does behave. And its behavior influences posture, comfort, and how present you feel throughout the day. When a fabric fights your body, you adjust constantly. When it works with you, you forget about it entirely. Elegance lives in that forgetting. This is why focusing on fabric often reduces the need for excessive styling. When the base is right, very little else is required. And unfortunately, some of the most common fabrics do the opposite. Fabric number 1, high-shine polyester. High-shine polyester is one of the most common fabrics that quietly undermines an outfit. At first glance, it often looks polished, especially under store lighting. But once you step into natural light or begin moving, the illusion breaks. The surface reflects light unevenly, creating a plastic-like sheen that draws attention to creases, folds, and tension points. The issue isn't that polyester exists, it's how it's finished. Highly reflective synthetic fabrics introduce visual noise. Instead of reading as fluid and calm, they read as restless. The eye keeps catching on the shine rather than resting on your presence. This is especially noticeable in blouses, dresses, and skirts designed to mimic silk or satin. The cut may be elegant, but the fabric gives itself away the moment you walk. A simple satin-style slip dress makes this clear. In silk, the fabric absorbs and softens light. In synthetic satin, it reflects it sharply. One moves quietly with the body, the other announces itself. And this has nothing to do with budget, material cost, or high-end garments. Many affordable garments avoid this problem by choosing matte finishes or blended fibers with weight. A useful guideline: if a fabric looks shiny before it moves, it will usually look cheaper once it does. Elegance prefers restraint. Fabric number 2, acrylic knits. Acrylic knits are often marketed as soft, cozy, and practical, but visually they tend to age faster than almost any other fabric. The problem is weight and structure. Acrylic lacks the density of natural fibers, which means sweaters and cardigans often collapse rather than drape. They lose shape at the elbows, stretch unpredictably, and begin to pill quickly. And pilling isn't just wear, it's a visual signal of neglect, even when the garment is clean. This is why an acrylic knit can make an outfit feel tired even when it's new. Compare two neutral sweaters, one acrylic, one wool blend. The acrylic version looks fine initially, but after a short time, it clings, bunches, and appears fuzzy. The wool blend holds its form, creates cleaner lines, and allows the body to move without distortion. Importantly, this affects everyone. On different bodies, acrylic reacts differently, but it almost always reacts poorly over time. A more refined approach isn't avoiding knits altogether, it's choosing knits with enough weight to maintain calmness. Even cotton or blended fibers can outperform acrylic when structure is present. The goal isn't stiffness, it's stability. When fabric holds itself, you don't have to. Fabric number 3, lightweight rayon that wrinkles. Rayon is often described as breathable, fluid, and elegant, and on paper it sounds ideal. But in everyday life, lightweight rayon frequently works against the wearer. The issue isn't how it looks when you first put it on, it's how quickly it loses composure. Rayon wrinkles easily and deeply, especially when you sit, walk, or carry a bag. These wrinkles don't soften with movement, they sharpen, and visually, sharp creasing signals disorder. Even when an outfit is clean and thoughtfully styled, heavy wrinkling creates the impression of haste or fatigue. Think about a typical day. Commuting, errands, meetings, lunch. By midday, a rayon blouse often looks crumpled, slightly misshapen, and clingy in areas where it once draped nicely. This isn't a failure of care or effort, it's fabric behavior. A helpful comparison. Try the same blouse design in rayon and in a viscose or lyocell blend. The cut is identical, the difference is stability. The more structured fabric recovers after movement. Rayon doesn't. Elegance depends on visual calm, especially when life is busy. That's why luxury brands rarely rely on rayon alone, not because it's bad, but because it doesn't perform well under real conditions. If a fabric requires constant monitoring, it steals presence, and elegance is always about ease. Fabric number 4, flimsy jersey. Jersey fabric isn't inherently inelegant. In fact, it can be beautiful when it has weight. The problem is flimsy, low-density jersey. Thin jersey stretches, clings, and loses shape quickly. It highlights areas unintentionally and becomes transparent under certain lighting. Over time, it begins to sag, twist, and look worn, even when the garment is relatively new. This is why two jersey dresses can feel worlds apart. Imagine a simple black jersey dress. In a heavier knit, it skims the body, creates clean vertical lines, and moves with quiet confidence. In a thin jersey, it clings to the torso, pulls at seams, and shifts constantly as you walk. The first feels intentional. The second feels apologetic. And this has nothing to do with body size. Thin jersey behaves unpredictably on every body. It exaggerates rather than support. A useful test: hold the fabric up to the light. If it becomes semi-transparent or loses structure immediately, it will likely look tired very quickly. Elegance doesn't require stiffness, but it does require integrity. When jersey has substance, it simplifies dressing. When it doesn't, it demands constant adjustment. Fabric number 5, cheap lace. Lace has the potential to be timeless, feminine, and refined, but low-quality lace often has the opposite effect. The difference lies in texture and depth. Cheap lace is usually stiff, overly shiny, and flat. Instead of intricate variation, it looks repetitive and synthetic, more like plastic netting than textile craft. Under light, it reflects harshly. On the body, it resists movement. This is why inexpensive lace frequently reads as costume-like rather than elegant. Compare two lace garments side by side. High-quality lace has softness, variation, and dimensionality. The pattern isn't perfectly uniform. It moves gently and allows the fabric beneath to breathe. Cheap lace sits on top of the body rather than integrating with it. And lace draws attention, so its quality matters even more. This isn't about avoiding lace altogether. It's about choosing it intentionally. When lace is used sparingly, with softness and depth, it elevates an outfit. When it's stiff or shiny, it dominates, and not in a flattering way. A refined approach is restraint. Lace works best when it whispers, not when it announces itself. Elegance is rarely loud, and lace is a perfect example of that truth. Fabric number 6. Low-quality faux leather. Faux leather can be a beautiful, intentional choice when it's well made, but low-quality faux leather is one of the fastest ways an outfit begins to look worn rather than refined. The issue is aging. Cheap faux leather is stiff, overly smooth, and plasticky to the touch. It doesn't soften with wear. Instead, it cracks, peels, and creases in unnatural ways. And once that process begins, it's impossible to hide. Real leather develops character over time. It relaxes, molds, and becomes more personal. Low-quality faux leather does the opposite. It deteriorates visually, often within a single season. You'll notice this most clearly in jackets, trousers, and skirts. At first, the piece may feel structured and bold, but after a few wears, the surface begins to wrinkle sharply at stress points. Elbows, hips, seams. The shine becomes uneven. The garment starts announcing its material rather than its design. This isn't about ethics or personal values. Those are individual choices. It's about behavior. A fabric that can't age with dignity will always undermine presence. A more refined approach is selectivity. Some modern vegan leathers are soft, flexible, and matte. They move quietly and hold their integrity. Others are better admired briefly and avoided long-term. Elegance favors materials that improve, or at least remain composed, with time. Fabric number 7. Synthetic satin. Satin is often associated with luxury, but satin is a weave, not a fiber. And when that weave is paired with synthetic fibers, the result is frequently disappointing. Synthetic satin reflects light harshly. Instead of creating a soft glow, it produces sharp highlights that emphasize every crease, fold, and movement. Rather than draping, it clings. Rather than flowing, it sticks. This is especially noticeable in slip dresses, skirts, and blouses designed to skim the body. A simple comparison reveals everything. Silk satin absorbs light and moves with subtlety. Synthetic satin reflects light back aggressively, creating a mirror-like effect that feels restless. The issue isn't glamour, it's control. Elegance relies on visual restraint. When fabric draws too much attention to itself, it competes with the wearer, and synthetic satin almost always competes. Another problem is sound and sensation. Many women notice that synthetic satin rustles slightly or feels dry against the skin, small details that affect posture and ease without conscious thought. Luxury isn't about shine, it's about depth. If satin is part of your wardrobe, look for softness, weight, and muted luster. When those qualities are present, satin can be timeless. When they aren't, it becomes theatrical in the wrong way. Fabric number 8. Stiff nylon blends. Nylon has its place, especially in technical and performance wear, but when it appears prominently in everyday garments, it often disrupts elegance. The problem is rigidity. Stiff nylon blends hold creases unnaturally. Instead of responding to the body, they resist it. Movement creates sharp lines where softness would normally appear. Over time, these creases remain, not as character, but as tension. You'll see this most clearly in dresses, trousers, and structured tops. The garment looks fine when standing still, but once you walk or sit, the fabric locks into angles that feel mechanical rather than fluid. Nylon also struggles with breathability. Discomfort subtly affects posture. Shoulders tighten, movements become guarded, and that tension is visible, even if we can't quite name it. This is why many nylon-heavy pieces feel polished at first glance, but exhausting to wear for a full day. A refined wardrobe supports ease. It allows you to forget about your clothes and remain present. When fabric interferes with that, elegance slips away, quietly but consistently. Elegance isn't about doing more, and it's rarely about replacing everything you own. It's about noticing what supports you and what subtly works against you. When fabric moves calmly, you move calmly. When it holds its shape, you don't have to think about yours. And that ease changes how you carry yourself in the most ordinary moments, walking into a room, sitting at a table, moving through your day. So instead of judging your wardrobe, simply observe it. Notice which pieces feel settled and which ones demand constant adjustment. That awareness alone refines your choices without force, without pressure. Elegance isn't a performance, it's awareness, applied quietly. And once you see it, you don't need rules.
You trust yourself.